When you look on the internet for the Mcgill crunch, you're going to get well over 500 different videos of how not to do them. Now, this exercise is butchered immensely, as well as a couple of others here in the series, so pay attention to the cues, because how you do the exercise is going to significantly change whether or not you're going to get the outcomes that you're after. Now, the Mcgill crunch is going to be a little bit of a challenge for most of us, as it's teaching us to lock together the rib cage and the pelvis. So before we go down to the ground, what I'd like for you to practice is keeping the chin tucked. Find the space between your six-pack and your obliques, a little tiny ridge there, or where they would be, and you're going to gently, or aggressively rather, push out. You can also do this gently if you have the ability to already lock, but what we're looking for is the ability to use the full transverse abdominis to lock the rib cage and pelvis together. Now, the Mcgill crunch is going to keep a chin neutral position, so we don't want to have your head poking forward either. Just standing nice and tall, feet shoulder width apart, brace. Let's go down to the ground and see how the Mcgill crunch or the Mcgill curl up is executed properly. The first thing to note is that when we're setting up for the Mcgill crunch is one leg is going to be bent with the foot flat on the floor, not too close to the butt. We want to have it right around even with the knee. Find what's comfortable for you, but we want that foot position to help us keep a nice neutral spine. We do not want to do anything with our backs. We want to keep them nice and neutral. Now, the second thing we're going to do is we're going to put our fingers underneath our lower back. So right where the top of your glutes are, you're going to have the triangle right in through there. And that's going to help us bolster the natural arch in the back. We don't want to have them too high or too low, just there to keep a nice neutral arch in the back. Our fingertips are going to be pressure sensors, allowing us to know if we're crunching and moving too much or if we're doing the movement correctly. Now, for the sake of the demonstration, we're going to keep my left leg straight and my right leg is going to be bent. Now, I'm going to take those hands underneath. And what I'm looking for with the hands essentially is to find where my natural arch is and then to have my fingertips just underneath the top of my pelvis, which is right about here. Now, the next part that's going to be a little bit challenging for us as cyclists is going to be bringing the elbows up off of the ground. Now, if you start to cramp or start to have serious pain in the front of your shoulder, you can certainly leave the elbows on the ground, but lifting the elbows is important because it keeps us from being able to cheat with our arms. Now, next, we're going to take the chin tucked position, and now we're going to use that brace, and we're going to pretend as if there's a scale underneath our head and we want it to say 0 stone. We want it to have a 0. That's all the movement we're going to look for out of this. So I'm going to stop talking for a second. I'm going to push my tongue into the top of my mouth and forward into my teeth and gently clench my jaw shut. This is going to help take some of the stress off of the neck. The scale is reading 0 right now, and I'm able to feel a full 360-degree abdominal brace. Now, breathing while you're doing this is quite a challenge, but when you first begin, we don't have to worry about breathing because we're just going to hold this for about 2 or 3 seconds. If you're having difficulty doing this correctly, or you feel like you're crunching up and getting too much motion and the scale is reading more than 0 stone because you're coming all the way up, you can take one hand out, the other hand is going to stay under the back. Again, those fingertips are those pressure sensors telling you if you're coming up too much. Find that area between the six-pack and the obliques, dig those fingers in, and then gently let a little bit of air out with the tss, trying to get the weight off of the scale from the head to reach 0. Now notice when I'm lifting in a head neutral position. This is really important. We want to keep the head locked and back down. It's a very small motion. It's not actually a crunch as many people think it is. This is the Mcgill crunch. Start off with 2 or 3 repetitions. It doesn't necessarily matter which leg is up, but we do want to try and make sure that you're not overusing your hip flexors.